Here's a sentence that's going to make some people very uncomfortable. Most mental health advice online is making you weaker, not evil, not malicious, just totally ineffective because it treats distress like an identity instead of a signal. It teaches you to feel instead of function, to vent instead of build, to label instead of train. And before anyone panics, this is not a just be tougher episode. This is not hustle culture. This is not toxic positivity. This is about skills, baby. Mental health is not a personality trait. It is a set of trainable capacities. And tonight, I'm giving you something concrete. I'm giving you a 10 tool psychological operating system. And yeah, it's going to be at the end of the episode. So you little dudes have to wait around or skip forward. Loser. Don't do it. Don't do it. Each of these tools I'm going to give you, it's going to be backed by a clinical research, right? We're not talking about, TikTok strategies. And each tool is also usable without a therapist, right? These are just tools though. Each tool is designed to make your life more stable, calmer, and more functional in 2026 and beyond. Plant that thought, succulents. However, before we go any further, I am not your therapist. I am not a therapist. I'm a guy who studies this stuff for a living, and I tell it to you guys. This show's educational, right? It is not medical treatment, my dudes. If you're in crisis, if you're experiencing suicidal thoughts, I mean, if you're spiraling or unable to function on a day-to-day basis, guys, this episode's not going to do it for you. I might give you some tools, but it will not fix you. You need real help. You need to seek professional help immediately. In the US, look, you can just call or text the number 988. This is the suicide and crisis lifeline. All right. If you're outside the US, local crisis lines are available worldwide. Using tools like today's, it doesn't replace professional care if that care is needed. Now let's build something solid. All right, let's talk about the core frame here, the triad of stability, because modern psychology, which is, backed by decades of neurobiological research, has reached a consensus. Mental health is not an absence of problems, but the presence of systemic stability. When you strip away the self-help jargon, you are left with three distinct, measurable systems that dictate your experience of reality. Now, if any one of these is offline, you are in a state of disorder. Number one, physiological regulation. We're talking about the hardware here, right? This is your autonomic nervous system integrity, if you will. Is the ability of your nervous system to oscillate between sympathetic, which is, your fight, flight, right, system, and your parasympathetic, which is kind of like your rest and digest system, right? These are the branches of that autonomic nervous system. And you need to be able to do this without getting stuck really in either of them. And this is often measured via things like, the HRV, heart rate variability, right? A high HRV indicates a resilient nervous system that can handle stress and recover quickly. When you are dysregulated, your brain's vagus nerve, right? It fails to send the safety signal to your heart and lungs, right? Which keeps you in a state of panic, right? A state of, oftentimes keeping you in a state of chronic low grade inflammation, right? And cortisol spikes. The bottom line is you cannot think your way out of a physiological panic. If your hardware is redlining, your mind is going to follow. What about that mind? Number two, cognitive flexibility, your software. This is your mental agility, right? The capacity to update your beliefs, right? And your behaviors when presented with new information. It's the opposite of cognitive rigidity, right? Which is the hallmark of almost every major disorder, from OCD to depression. Now, the system lives in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the DLPFC. Okay. Research on executive function shows that individuals with high cognitive flexibility can refatigue a negative thought pattern. What does this mean? It means they can look at a failure and see a data point instead of a death sentence. My dudes, it is the ability to switch mental sets when a strategy is no longer working for you. It is being flexible in the old noggin. Look, the bottom line is if you can't change your mind, you are a prisoner of your very first thought. And then number three, your behavioral agency. This is like the operator. All right. This is the sense of self efficacy, right? It's your psychological conviction, if you will, that your actions actually matter, right? In clinical terms, this is the antidote to learned helplessness, which was studied by Seligman in the 70s, right? Like 1972, I believe. Now, when you exercise agency, right, your brain releases my favorite little neurotransmitter, dopamine, right into the nucleus accumbens. It reinforces the neural pathway that says, I am the cause of this effect. Now, without any agency, right, you fall into a feedback loop of despair, if you will, right? You stop attempting to change your environment because your brain has decided that effort is a waste of metabolic energy. What's the bottom line? Mental health requires you to move from being a recipient of life to the architect of it. Guys, everything we're about to cover here, every disorder, every glitch, every treatment, it is just a variation of these things, right? These three systems either failing or succeeding. No vibes, right? No manifesting, right? Manifesting. Just mechanisms, just researched scientific mechanisms for my little succulents. You know that's what I'm going to give you guys because that's all I do is talk science. All right, you ready? 10 practical strategies. All right. Number one, regulate the body before the mind. I mean, this comes right from polyvagal theory, interoception, and stress physiology, right? Most people try to think their way out of anxiety. That is backwards. That is backwards. Look, when the nervous system is dysregulated, right, you can't rely on the brain to save you. The prefrontal cortex goes offline. I mean, that's your logic center, right? And it loses access. At this point, you got the amygdala, the insula, all those other little crazy limbic devices running the show. Emotion is running the show. So what do? Well, here's one tool. You can use the physiological sigh, which is a double inhale plus a long exhale. You can also try cold exposure, right? Dunk your head, dunk your face in ice water for a second or two, right? Your hands for 30 to 60 seconds, right? I mean, this will snap your nervous system right out of that fight or flight. A third technique could be slow nasal breathing. Just breathe, right? 4 to 6 breaths per minute. These activate the vagus nerve, what I talked about a minute ago, which reduces your sympathetic arousal. Do it daily, guys. Regulate first, reflect second. I mean, regulate that body. And then you can start using the old noggin. All right. So, number two, stop emotional reasoning, right? This is right from the CBT, Beck in the 1970s. Right? If I feel it, it must be true. Yeah, that sentence literally destroys lives. Feelings are data. They're not directives. Guys, when you're feeling things like this, I want you to practice, right? When you're distressed, write stuff down like what you feel in that moment. All right. What are you assuming with that thought? What evidence actually exists that that thought is actually correct? That emotion, right? What this does is it separates the emotion from the belief. Look, the result is less catastrophizing, right? More clarity. The world's not ending. All right. Number three, let's build distress tolerance, right? The capacity for discomfort, right? I mean, dialectical behavior therapy by Marcia Linehan, she told us all about this because what happens is most people think resilience is about having a positive attitude. That is a lie. Resilience is not a mood. It is a capacity. And it's built. It's the physiological ability to sit in a state of high autonomic arousal, raising heart, tight chest, spiraling thoughts, without reaching for a numbing agent or an escape hatch. When you're in a state of emotional flooding, I mean, your prefrontal cortex, the logical CEO of the brain, right? It's left the building. It's done for the night. Or it might be taking a vacation for a couple weeks. You can't talk yourself out of a panic, my guy. You just can't because your prefrontal cortex is offline. You have to use bottom-up interventions that force your nervous system to shift. You can use the TIP skills, dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. They use the TIP acronym, temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and paired muscle relaxation. Look, you can try the ice cube in hand, right? Holding ice triggers sensory overload that forces the brain to divert resources from the emotional centers back to the somatosensory cortex right up here in the parietal lobe. It's a hard reset for the limbic system. Hell yeah. You could do wall sits, right? Or intense bursts of physical strain because physical strain creates a controlled stressor, right? You're in charge of this thing. By holding a wall sit, right, until your legs shake. I mean, you're training your brain to stay present while the body is screaming, stop! You can try the exposure principle, right? Avoidance is the fuel of anxiety. It is the fuel. Every time you escape a feeling, I mean, you reinforce the neural pathway that says, I can't handle this. I mean, and so you learn to escape. Tolerance is the antidote. Avoidance strengthens anxiety. Tolerance weakens it. Sit with that discomfort and calm yourself actively. I mean, you're not trying to feel good. You're trying to prove to your brain that you are unbreakable, my guy. Four, schedule pleasure on purpose. This is behavior activation 101. I mean, depression lies by saying, I'll do things when I feel better. That is not what happened. Science says you feel better after doing things. Rule: schedule 1 to 2 activities daily that create, I don't know, mastery. Get good at something. Get that guitar out, start strumming that sucker away, right? You're learning how to serenade your little chica. Have these do something that you enjoy. Go to Six Flags, ride the roller coaster, feel good for a few minutes. Connection Do it with friends, I mean, let's be honest. Going to a theme park is fun. Going to a theme park with friends, that's divine. It is. It's pretty fun. Guys, the whole point here is that your mood follows the behavior. So if you're doing things right, your mood is going to naturally increase. It's going to pull yourself out of the dumps. Number 5, you want to fix your sleep. If you don't, nothing else sticks. I mean, look, guys, sleep medicine, neuropsychiatry, this stuff is the heart of it all. Let's be ruthless. If your sleep is a mess, your therapy is a waste of money and your supplements are just expensive piss. Sleep deprivation isn't just being tired, it is a state of acute neurobiological impairment. There's the mimicry effect, right? Research shows that 24 hours of sleep deprivation produces cognitive impairments, equivalent to blood alcohol concentration of 0.10. Hello, drunk drivers. Sleep loss doesn't just cause problems, it mimics clinical disorders. I mean, the ADHD mimic. Sleep loss tanks your dopamine receptors, making focus nearly impossible. The depression mimic. It prevents the glymphatic system from clearing metabolic waste, your beta amyloids, right? Clearing that stuff out from the brain, which leads to brain fog and in a depressed mood. I mean, a lack of sleep, it's an anxiety mimic, right? A sleep deprived brain shows a 60% increase in amygdala reactivity. You aren't anxious, your brain is just too exhausted to inhibit its own fear responses. Look, this is the non negotiable protocol here, right? You have got to set consistent wake times. Consistent wake times. This sets your circadian clock, your rhythm, man. This natural biological rhythm. If this moves by more than an hour or an hour and a half, you are literally giving yourself social jet lag. All right. Now, morning sunlight, it's important. Viewing 10 to 30 minutes of sunlight within an hour of waking triggers the timed release of cortisol to wake you up. And it sets a timer for your melatonin to put you down 16 hours later. Guys, there's also the 60-minute digital sunset. I mean, blue light from your screen suppresses melatonin production. If you're scrolling in bed, you're telling your brain it's high noon when it's actually 11 p.m. The bottom line, sleep is not self care. It is a neurobiological maintenance system that you have got to take care of. It is the only time your brain performs system updates and waste removal required for sanity, man. If you don't fix this, the rest of this masterclass is just noise. I don't like noise. I like learning. Number 6, train attention like a muscle. Mindfulness based cognitive therapy. Attention determines suffering. Untrained attention, it leads to things like rumination, doom loops, mental noise. I mean, guys, it clutters the mind with anxiety, with things that don't need to be there, with things that haven't happened or haven't happened yet, things from the past, right? That don't matter anymore, probably. I mean, they don't really. Move on. You move on. Guys, there's some evidence-based practice, right? For 10 minutes every day, I want you to focus on breathing or focus on relaxing, right? Maybe you sit in a nice, comfortable chair in front of the sun, you just breathe for a while. When your mind starts to wander, I want you to redirect it very gently. All right. So you're relaxed, you're sitting in the sun, maybe, right? You're breathing, you're focusing on your body, and your mind starts to ruminate, right? Redirect. Now, what this does is it strengthens meta awareness. You are literally training your brain to fix your brain. This strengthens, right, your meta awareness. You stop being inside thoughts, right? Number 7, I want you to use values, not moods. Acceptance and commitment therapy, right? Motivation is it's just too unreliable. It is. I mean, ask anybody who's ever set a New Year's resolution. I did an episode on it a little while back. But I mean, think about it. Motivation's unreliable, right? Everyone breaks this stuff because motivation wanes. It waxes, right? On the other hand, values, they're durable. I mean, what kind of person do you want to be? Ask yourself that daily. What kind of person do you want yourself to be? What actions align with that today? So, in other words, here's what I want to be. Here are the things that I'm doing. Are they aligning? If not, you act regardless of how you're feeling. Meaning stabilizes mental health better than happiness ever will. Meaning, autonomy, purpose, ethical masculinity. Go to my channel, Plant the Spark, if you want to learn how to put some meaning in your life. Now, number 8, reduce information to reduce anxiety. This is the cognitive load theory, or it's right from the cognitive load theory, right? Your brain is not built for constant alerts and notifications. You're not supposed to always be available for mommy. Oh, honey, did you take your little snacky to school? Mom, I'm in freaking history class. I mean, guys, we are not made for infinite opinions. Your brain is getting overloaded with social media and the TikTok, and these opinions usually suck. I mean, guys, our brain is not equipped to handle algorithmic outrage, right? All the clickbait, the rage bait, the thirst traps. Evidence shows high information load increases anxiety and decision fatigue. So here's a practical rule: limit your news intake. Turn that crap off. I mean, let's be honest. This we're in a bad state, guys. Only have a couple, information sources that you rely on. Just make sure you're vetting these sources first, right? You're not listening to an entertainment channel that pretends like it's news or something like that. Guys, no doom scrolling before bed. Stop it. That is not helpful. This is not healthy. Mental hygiene matters, guys. You need to clean that brain right on up, my dudes. Come on. All right. Number 9, you want to build micro agency daily. Self efficacy, baby. Right from my buddy Bandura, the clown guy. You remember him. I mean, guys, helplessness is learned. So is agency. Every day, complete one small, hard thing, one difficult task. Come on now. And I want you to track your completion, right? Write this stuff down. Journal. I'm not big on journaling, but in this case, do it. I mean, guys, you got to acknowledge your progress. Confidence is not just a belief, it is evidence accumulation. Accumulate the evidence. Number 10, the last one, the biological mandate: strengthening real human connection. This is right from attachment and social neuroscience, right? We are a social species, which means our nervous systems are not closed loops. We are not men or women unto ourselves. We are an open loop, right? We're an open loop system designed to be regulated by the presence of others. This is why no app, right? Sorry, Candy Crush, no AI, no digital avatar can ever replace the physiological data exchange that happens in person. I mean, guys, the power of co regulation. When you sit across from someone you trust, your brain engages in neural coupling. Your heart rate begins to synchronize with them. Your vagus nerves talk to each other. I mean, they're doing this via micro expressions and tone of voice. We need this stuff. This is co regulation. This is what they mean when they say co regulation, where you use another person's stable nervous system to anchor your own. This is why therapy works. There's also the witness effect. Research in attachment theory It shows that being witnessed in your struggle reduces the amygdala's fear response more effectively than any solo cognitive technique out there. Any. This is from research. Guys, loneliness isn't just a sad feeling, it is a physiological stressor. Chronic isolation, it predicts early mortality, death, guys, at a rate comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day because it keeps the body in a state of high alert. Pro inflammatory, survival mode. We need to have the practice of the real, right? To survive 2026, you need a minimum of one high density human interaction per week. This means eye contact, saying something vulnerable. No, fine, thanks. And practicing active listening without the urge to fix. Just listen. I mean, I get into this a lot with people. I'm a fixer. I'm sorry, but you got to stop that, right? When you listen without fixing, you allow the other person's nervous system to settle into safety. So when you're trying to fix, and this is something I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to remember, but when you're trying to fix, their nervous system can't settle. Be there for them to let them reflect. All right, guys, 2026, it's going to all be skills over insight. As we move deeper into this new year, the landscape of mental health is shifting. I mean, we are entering an era of unprecedented cognitive outsourcing and emotional noise. AI is going to provide the answers, but it can't provide the agency. For the last 50 years, psychology was about insight, right? Understanding why you are the way you are. In the future, insight's going to be a commodity, right? AI can tell you why you're anxious based on your data history in 5 seconds. I mean, that's not what's important anymore. It's just like when the calculator came out and we no longer had to learn how to do long division. Guys, we're moving into a skill based future. Mental health in the future will depend entirely on regulation, attention, and agency. Can you control your heart rate when the algorithm tries to enrage you? Regulation. Can you hold focus on a single human being or a single task for an hour without a dopamine twitch? Attention. Can you make a choice that wasn't suggested to you by a predictive text model? Agency. Bottom line, those who treat their mind like a muscle to be trained will thrive, my guys. Those who treat their minds like a screen to be filled will find their identity outsourced to the machine. I've talked about it before. Go back and listen to my episodes on AI. I mean, nervous systems heal together, but they also decay in isolation. The choice of where you plug in is the only one that matters. I mean, the fact is, mental health isn't about becoming someone else, it's about becoming less hijacked, less reactive, less fragile, less controlled by momentary states. You don't need a new personality, my dudes. You need a better operating system. You need better hardware, better software. And you can work on those things, work on the body, work on the brain, fix those emotions. If this episode gave you the tools you can actually use, you need to subscribe to Planting Thoughts. And if you haven't, something's wrong with you. Call 911. A kid, don't call. No, we're not here to numb you. We're here to sharpen you. Think clearly, regulate deeply, choose deliberately. This has been Planting Thoughts.